Hello there, it's Mr. Coy here. I'm going to be reading this week's reading article for Wednesday, week 1. This is The Golden Age of Athens by Colomier Charles. The article is about the Golden Age of Athens, also known as the Age of Pericles. It began in 478 BCE when the Athenians defeated the invading Persians. A golden age is marked by political, economic and cultural growth. In this text, Colomier Charles discusses the Athenian government during the Golden Age of Athens. As you read, take notes on how the Athenians structured their democratic society. Before we read the article, let's go through some key words which may need explaining ahead of time. This starts with BCE. This means before Common Era or the year 0. We have oration. This basically means a speech. Then we have custom. This is a traditional way of doing things either by a group of people or a particular society. Then we have dictated. This is essentially doing something you've been told to do. Then we have citizen. This is a person who belongs to a particular place and has specific rights there. The next one is a constitution. A constitution is a basic set of rules or laws that explain how a country is run and what rights the people who live there have. And the last one on this page is cavalry. This is a group of soldiers who fight specifically riding horses. On the next page, we have isolation. This is being separated from things or from other people. The next we have a coalition. This is a group of people, countries or organisations that come together to work towards a shared goal. Now the next all relate to places. So the next one here is Acropolis. This is a large and important hill in ancient Greek cities where temples and other buildings are made for protection or for worship. We have a specific one here. This is the Parthenon. Now the Parthenon is a famous temple in Athens, Greece, that's built to honour the goddess Athena. The next is Propylaea. Propylaea is a grand gateway that serves as the entrance to sacred places in ancient Greek cities, like the Acropolis in Athens. The next is radical. This is someone who wants big changes in society, politics, or another idea. The next is democratic. This is a system or idea where someone has a say in voting how decisions are made. Next we have established. This pretty much just means started. And abolished means ended or stopped something completely. And then on the last page, we've got accommodate. This is to make space for something or to help possibly meet somebody's needs. The next is ratification. The idea here is this is the official approval or confirmation of an agreement, law or decision normally done through voting. Then we have reforms. This is the idea of changes. Okay? The next is aristocratic. These are the groups of people who have a high social status or wealth, but this is often inherited. Think things like nobles. Then we have contemporary. For something to be contemporary, it means it comes from the time. Then we have critics. These are people who might have an opinion on something. It could be pointing out something's good things, or it could be pointing out its bad parts. The last one is strategist. This is someone who plans and thinks very carefully about how they could achieve a goal. And those are our key words for the article that we need to focus on, so let's begin. The Golden Age of Athens by Colomier Charles. The year was 430 BCE, and Pericles stood ready to deliver the funeral oration honouring those who had died in the first year of the Peloponnesian War. It was an Athenian practice to honour the dead every year, and, as custom dictated, the Athenians chose a leading citizen to deliver the speech. According to the historian Thucydides, who may have been present at the event, Pericles had as much to say about the greatness of the Athenians as he did about the heroism of its soldiers. We do not use a constitution that copies the laws of our neighbours, but we are a pattern for certain people rather than imitating others. We alone do not think that a man who avoids public affairs is minding his own business. Instead, we call him useless. In short, I say that this city is the school of Hellas. Rise of the hoi polloi. To understand how Athens became the school of Hellas, we must look back 50 years to 480 BCE. It was in that year that the Greeks fought the invading Persians at Salamis and won great naval victory. The Athenians had made the decision earlier to desert Athens and put their trust in the wooden walls of their ships. Their navy consisted of triremes, vessels that had 3 banks of oars and required a highly skilled crew. Unlike the cavalry or the infantry, where you had to be wealthy enough to pay for your own equipment, just about anyone could join the crew of a trireme. So that it can be said that for the first time in Greek history, the hoi polloi, or the majority of the people, were important. After the Athenian victory, the Spartans retreated into self-imposed isolation in their city-state to the south. The Athenians, meanwhile, formed a loose coalition called the Delian League. The Athenians also collected funds from the city-states that joined the League. The organization's stated purpose was to finance a naval force capable of repelling the Persian advances in the future, but plans changed and the Athenians used the money to pay for rebuilding of their Acropolis. Along with the structures involved in this project were the Parthenon and the Propylaea, and a huge gold and ivory statue of the goddess Athena Nike. Today, many of these structures still stand in the Acropolis, eternal symbols of the glory that was Greece. Radical democracy. Around 462 BCE, a radical member of the Democratic Party, an Athenian named Alphialtes, succeeded in splitting the council of former leaders and dividing their authority among the council, the ecclesia, the assembly of the people, and the courts. This was the beginning of what modern scholars call a radical democracy, because most offices and positions were filled by drawing lots, rather than by representative election. In theory, this meant that all Athenian citizens could have a direct voice in the day-to-day running of the government. The Bull. This council had been established by the Cleisthenes in 507 BCE. It consisted of 500 men chosen by lot, a total of 50 men from each of these demes or districts. Anyone who wished to serve the bull had to be 31 or older. Originally, a member had to own a certain amount of property, but by the time of Pericles took office in Athens, that requirement had been abolished, possibly by Pericles himself. Pericles may have also established a daily wage for those serving in the bull. The term of office was a year, and an Athenian citizen could only be a member twice in his lifetime. The bull met every day, so it would have been a time-consuming responsibility. Members drafted proposals, decrees, and laws, which were then sent to the ecclesia for approval. The bull members also investigated and supervised the magistrates and other officers. The ecclesia. The bull brought proposals before the citizens' assembly. The members met at the Nix, a hill in central Athens that could accommodate around 6,000 people. Asserted decisions required a vote by at least that number. Membership was open to every citizen who had served in the military for at least 2 years. In the age of Pericles, there were probably about 40,000 to 60,000 citizens who were, by default, members of the ecclesia. Surviving accounts show that it was sometimes difficult to reach even the minimum attendance number. The ecclesia was directly responsible for many important decisions. Among these were the election of Athenians to the board of 10 generals, ratification of laws, and even the declaration of war. Power to the people. Democratic politicians, including Ephialtes and Pericles, introduced reforms that were intended to encourage broad popular participation in the daily affairs of the government. For example, paying members of the bull ensured that citizens who could not afford to lose a day's wages could now serve. Pericles did propose the law that restricted Athenian citizenship to men whose mother and father were both Athenian citizens. The intent was most likely to weaken the network of connections between aristocratic members of city-states throughout Greece. Pericles' goal was to make Athenian citizenship more important than old family ties. Contemporary critics of Pericles argued that he gave the people too much power. These critics thought that most people did not have the education, free time, or the insight to govern responsibly. Both the historian Thucydides and the comic poet Aristophanes complained that the ecclesia was fickle and foolish. According to them, when a thoughtful and brilliant strategist such as Pericles steered the will of the people, the city-state ran smoothly. After Pericles died, they saw that the ecclesia was at the mercy of any persuasive speaker. That was A Golden Age of Athens by Colomeo Charles. I'd like you now to stop the video and start it again and undertake core reading of the article with me.